Yeah. All right. So let me go back a little bit here. So played the Air Force game. Had some injury stuff. I'll start with that. We'll go. So Cam went through warm-ups and got injured in a tackling drill, so he couldn't play in the second half. So he's out with that. And then he's also now currently going through some personal stuff, so that we have to give him time to work through and figure out. So we will give him that time and let him do that. You have Dean Clark, who he couldn't go during warm-ups, couldn't play, so he didn't end up playing in the game also. So that happened. You had Gabriel Lightfoot get hurt during the game. And then you had Raylan Sharp, who got hurt in the Hawaii game, couldn't get through practice stuff, and he couldn't play in the game. And then you had Phoenix Jackson, had an illness, so he could not go. So all those guys, kind of a wait and see, work in progress type thing. We'll see how it plays out. We'll meet with our training staff later on in the day, and then we'll see what we can do on Tuesday and Wednesday with practice wise. So really don't have an update until we get working and seeing who's full speed and those sorts of things. Had a good week of practice last week. We practiced on Wednesday. We practiced on Thursday. Wednesday was more of a no pads. Thursday we got it cracking a little bit. We did some hitting. We were in some pads. And then we took the weekend off as far as on the field. And then on Sunday last night, we got back to work. So feel like we were ahead a little bit in that aspect of things. We have to continue that and have a good week of practice and be ready to go. But I will say just our team meeting yesterday, a lot more energy, a lot more refreshed. You know, we went 5 bye week, 5 again, another bye week, and then we'll play the last 2. So I think it hit at the right time, both bye weeks, and hopefully we can make the few plays that we need to make to be more successful than we were after the last bye week.
I imagine you guys don't look at it this way, but Air Force had a blowout win over Oregon State. Does it feel any better seeing the result after seeing them do that?
They're a unique operation over there. We talked about it a lot. And record doesn't matter with them. It really doesn't. They're going to do what they do, and they're going to play hard no matter what. They're undefeated. They don't have any wins. So it doesn't surprise me. They do what they do, and if you're not ready for it, it'll hit you in the mouth, and they're going to keep playing hard, and they did a good job after our game playing. I think it was Oregon State, right? Played them and did a good job in that game. So that's their style. That's their MO. That's what they do. So nothing surprises you with them.
You shared about your injury status, the team's energy. How does that collide with what Colorado State's going to bring this week?
Yeah, we're going to have to bring it. We have a good ball squad coming into Valley Children's Stadium. They're complimentary football for all 3 phases. They're going to run the rock. They're going to try to get us to tap out. They're going to keep running the same runs and see if you can handle it. I mean, that's basically what they do. They're doing a great job right now of adding in some trick plays and misdirection stuff that you have to be ready for. Doing a really good job of that. On defense, they're keeping people out of the end zone. They're doing a good job of keeping everybody in front of them. They're not giving up those explosive big plays. So they're playing together as a whole on defense and rotating guys through there, and they're in a 4-2-5 base thing that's twisting the up front and stuff to keep you off balance. So, and in their kicking game, it's something we're going to have to get prepared for. They do a lot of different things. They're a little unique. So the ball is everywhere, and we're going to have to be ready for that. And we've been practicing that since last week. So we have to be ready to go. We're going to have our energy level up, and we're going to have our mindset right to go get this thing done.
Coach, the idea of possibly playing spoiler for them with the possibility of getting them their first loss and hurting their chances of the Mountain West Championship appearance, does that motivate these guys a little bit to kind of play that spoiler role in this game on Saturday?
Yeah, it might, but we're more focused on what we need to do. We're heading into where we have Senior Day coming up. We also have, this is the last opportunity for this 2024 team to go out in that stadium and play together. Things like that. One win away from being bowl eligible. That's more our motivation, more what we're talking about, more getting back to playing Bulldog football, getting healthy, and being the best versions of ourselves. That's more of our motivation. I know that storyline is there. You can't help that, but it's not our primary motivation.
You did mention Senior Day, and so a lot of that comes with the pageantry. It may be a little bit of a different kind of warm up for the players, especially with all those guys being recognized. How do you approach Senior Day? Is it a little bit of a different day?
Yeah, it's a special moment, right? I went through it. A lot of people go through it when you play. It's your last time. It really, to be honest with you, it doesn't hit you until after. When you're all said and done, and then every time you go back in that stadium, you're either a fan or you're just going to practice. Is when it kind of hits you. But in the moment, it's cool. But you have a game, and your body's thinking more a game than it is. This is my last time, so our clock and how we do pregame and all that stuff will change and get tweaked a little bit because you do need to leave some extra time for the ceremony stuff. So we'll have to get ready for that. But other than that, it's pretty much getting ready for a normal kickoff.
And just lastly, last 2 games, obviously there's still bowl eligibility on the table. What does this team have to prove for the last couple weeks here?
Yeah, we got to play Bulldog football, and we have to play together. We've kind of been all right. The defense is hot, the offense isn't, or offense is not, and the defense is. Like, we have to put it all together. And I keep saying we have to be one heartbeat. That's a big deal. And by this time of the year, it's critical and crucial. So if we can play together, be one heartbeat, we're all firing at the same time, I think we'll be fine. But that's our challenge. We have to all be playing together in all the phases. Every single play matters. They all matter, and we have to make them good plays.
Hey, happy Monday, Coach. Hey, so Colorado State, what stands out about their quarterback?
Yeah, so they've kind of changed their offense a little bit from last year to this year. The quarterback's slinging it, throwing it all over the yard in previous years, and then this year they've kind of changed it, going to more relying on their O-line, their running backs, and handing that thing off. But when they do throw the ball, you can tell that he can throw that rock. He's an accurate passer. He has a good mobility, gets away from traffic and things like that. So very good quarterback. He's a leader. He commands it. He's reading where the holes are in the defense, and he's going to audible the runs the other way, or he's going to audible the passes that are successful. So he's doing a great job being a leader and winning games for them down the stretch here.
And also, there are 16 seniors that will be honored before the game. What is your favorite memory of the senior class?
Oh, man. I just like every one of them has their own unique something that I have for them, and I don't want to get into every story that way. But I go back to my senior day, and it's a special moment. You have your family out on the field, which is not common, right? Your family's out there before the game, and you have to see all of them and things like that. You get hugs and kisses and things like that, but you also know I still have a game to go play. So I'm just happy for these guys. Everybody has a story. Everybody's dealt with adversity, and to get to this point, you get your education, you're playing football at a high level is very special and something you can't take for granted. So I'm just happy for those guys to get to this moment, dealing with everything they have to deal with, and now to attack it and have a good senior day.
And lastly, Coach, what do you want to see from your offense on Saturday?
Hey, just move the ball and try to put it in the end zone like we always do, right? Coach McCann will keep calling those plays. The guys are ready to go. We've had a good week of practice. We've had some good possessions in that last game. We just carry it over, and we just keep on rolling. But we're trying to put the ball in the end zone. That'll never change.
Morning, Coach.
What's going on?
What's it been like keeping the team together and focused amid the losses and making sure they don't look at the past or the future, just at the week ahead?
Yeah, football is a game of highs, extremely high, and some really, really lows, right? And you have to balance that thing out because even if you're high, you still need to be ready for the next week, and then that's when the upsets start happening, right? So we have a good group of players. I mean, it starts with those seniors, it starts with our leaders, it starts with our captains, and then it works through to the younger guys. And every time I stand in this room and I look at those guys in the eye, you can see that they want to win, they want to learn, they want to get better, and that's worth $1 million right now, man. It's priceless. So we're just going to keep working. We know what's ahead of us. We know we have a good ball squad we're about to play. We know we're a good ball squad also. We just have to prove it out there in the stadium.
Since this is a good ball squad, is there a characteristic in the last 2 losses, something that if you guys would have fixed it, it would have maybe led to a win?
I think it's more just playing together at the same time at a high level. Like I told you, it's been ups and downs, like one side's doing better than the other side, things like that. Kicking game being a point of difference. I think once we get all 3 to be firing at the same time at a high level, I think we're going to be fine. That's the challenge for us.
And then on the Cam Lockridge situation, you said it's a personal issue and also an injury issue. Does that mean he's more than likely out for this week's game?
It's just time, man. We'll see. He hasn't been out there to practice and things like that. And then with personal stuff, I let personal be personal. He takes as much time as he needs to take. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, Coach, we
Hello.
hear every week that obviously the Mountain West is very competitive. Anybody can beat anybody. What has this experience been like for you to be the head coach leading this team and now into their final Mountain West game of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey, right? Started there in July. I don't even remember if it was middle of July or the end. I can't remember that much. But it's been a journey, get through training camp, coaching the games. Obviously, I'm my alma mater. I'm enjoying I just love the job. I've always wanted to work here. It's a dream job for me. But I'll be honest with you, once we started playing games, I've been locked into each week. I haven't really thought about myself, personal gains, or how I feel or anything like that. You're just kind of getting me to reflect right now. But I want to win. That's what I want to do. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in front of the group. That's why I'm the head coach, and I want to win. So winning is my satisfaction, and that's where my mind is right now.
Getting ready for Colorado State, what are some things you expect to see from this Bulldog defense that might have been tweaked or changed since the Air Force game?
Yeah, we're going to have to get our physicality back. We got to get our groove back. We have to out-hit these guys. They're going to run the rock. I mean, bottom line. And we're going to have to knock that line of scrimmage backwards, and we have to tackle. They have really good running backs. So we're going to get challenged from that standpoint. It's kind of our mantra to out-hit people, and we're going to have to put it on the table Saturday. So we have to be ready to go.
Morning, Coach. You mentioned the motivation this week being able to be bowl eligible. How crucial is that not only just for this team, but just the future of the program and trying to make sure you have a game late?
Definitely, and we have a tradition of making bowl games, right? I mean, that's our goal. That's definitely something we're striving for. There's a lot of teams that wish they were in a situation where if they could win one more, they're bowl eligible. So we have that situation. It's critical. It helps with recruiting. It helps with our own morale. It helps with everything. So that was a goal. It's a goal we need to accomplish, and that's where our mind is right now.
You sort of mentioned it earlier, but being a player that was here, going through homecoming senior night, what is that feeling like emotionally, and then how do you sort of weather it to make sure that it doesn't get too emotional or too hyped up for the guys?
Honestly, for me, kind of what I was saying earlier, I didn't feel it like it was my last game right before the game. I mean, you got to get ready to go play. You know, the only thing that was odd was like there's family on the field and you have to say hi and your mom's kissing you and things like that, which you don't usually do. You really right before the game, all of a sudden you see your mom right there, right? So that was different. But playing the game, I just wanted to get as many tackles as I could. Didn't want Coach Coyle yelling at me, and we just played ball. So that's how I felt about it. But I remember, I know we were playing SMU. I know it was in the stadium. I remember some plays from it and things like that because it does stand out from a lot of the other games. But during the moment, it was not in my mind. I wasn't out there like, man, it's my last time and looking up at the stars and all that type of stuff. I was really motivated on playing the game.
How's it going, Coach?
What's going on, bro?
You mentioned practicing the bye week and everything else, though, but what was specifically emphasized? What was specifically worked on between the players and the coaches to get ready for the Rams?
Yeah, so Wednesday we were in no pad, so it was more of a mental type day, going against each other, kind of getting the speed back, the kinks out, you know, we went from Saturday to Wednesday. And then Thursday we put the pads on, and we were really working on the physicality thing because this is going to be a physical ball game. They have a really, really good O-line, they have really good backs, and then on the defense they have some size up front and things like that. So the physicality part's going to be huge. We worked on that Thursday, and then now that'll continue on Tuesday and Wednesday. This is a major week for us to get our minds right and be ready to go.
And you mentioned that the team always has a 1-0 mentality, a week-by-week, game-by-game process. But when the results are, 0-1 by the end of it, and the situation that you're in, nothing really big at stake, whether if it's Mountain West championship or playoff contention, even though bowl eligibility is up for grabs, when do you start thinking about the future?
So we're thinking right now of getting bowl eligible, and I don't take that lightly. I think that's a big, important piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of people here that are in the country that wish they could be bowl eligible. It means a lot. It gives extra practices as you start talking about the future. Those extra practices are huge for our younger guys and the guys that aren't getting as many reps. It's a big thing. But future's the future. Future's going to come. Tomorrow's going to come, right? But if you don't win today, tomorrow's going to be a loss too. So I'm staying on the 1-0 mentality. We have to get this win, but we have to have a good day today, all right? Starting with our guys doing their own film study, which they've already started doing, and the coaches continuing the game plan. And then tomorrow is Dirty Tuesday, and we're going to have to get it cracking. The pads are going to have to get flying around. We're going to have to go play football. We're not in a sad state right now. We have a game to win that'll get us bowl eligible, and we're excited about that.
And speaking of reps, with the banged-up offensive line last week and, mentioning the players on both sides of the ball that were out last week, the depth players had to step in. What more can these backup players do that when they do get their chance to play, that they can deliver a win despite lack of playing time?
Yeah, every season you're going to get in the situations where your depth chart's got the guys towards the bottom of it got to move on up to the top, right? And it's all about working with each other. So it's all about the communication piece. It's all about working together, whether you're an O-lineman working on one guy working up to another guy. It's on the D-line, knowing your gaps and how you play the blocking schemes, all those things. But it's all going to start with just working together, getting used to that, because now it's a different voice, it's a different body in there. So once we get that accomplished, I think it'll help us out. Thank you.
Morning.
How's it going, Coach?
Okay.
I've noticed that with Corey Foreman specifically, that he on television they say that he's starting, or on the scouting reports he's high on the depth chart. But I've noticed that he really doesn't get many first snaps in the games that I've seen. Is there a reason for his lack of production in these last few games when he's not on the field as much, despite the type of talent he has?
Corey's still a work in progress. He's learning the system. He's developing some of the skills that we need at that position. And each game is a different challenge, and his ability to contribute to the defense will vary from week to week. Honestly, I know he wishes he had more snaps, more productivity, as we do as well, but he's got to be ready to execute the game plan 100% all the time. And so we've been taking it cautiously in terms of how much we're putting on his plate.
And you mentioned earlier before the season started that this is the most depth that you had in a while, and we saw the depth players play last weekend with Dean, Cam, and Phoenix out. From your evaluation, do you feel that the backup players are equal in getting the same production as the starters?
Well, I think our backup players have stepped up and competed really hard for us. The backup. When you use the term backup, there's a reason why someone's a starter. They've been more productive. They have more experience. They have been in that situation before. So I can't say that the backups have been as good as the starters that might have missed a game here or there. But I think certainly we competed extremely hard. The guys that stepped in and played really fought hard in the game, and I think have proven that they're quality players at this level.
And right now, currently, Colorado sits at number 100 in scoring offense and ranked number 83rd in total offense. Do you believe you hold the advantage over a low ranking offense, and what stands out to you about them that you need to stop them on Saturday?
I don't buy into the stats from what their offense is. I watched the tape. On tape, they're one of the best running football teams that will have played all year. They're balanced on offense. They're averaging over 180 yards a game rushing and over 180 yards a game passing. They do a good job of protecting the football. They manage the clock well. This is a good offensive football team that knows their identity, and I think that's been evident as the season has gone on, and now that they've been on a 5-game winning streak. So they're not. They are tricky at times with some of the gadget plays. The gadget plays are not just a flash in the pan where they give it a shot and see what happens. They've had over 15 gadgets throughout the breakdown that we're looking at, and many of them have gone for big plays, some for touchdowns. So that's another issue. But they're going to run the ball. They're going to play action pass. They're going to bootleg. They're going to take their shots down the field. They got receivers that can take the top off the coverage. So this is a big challenge, and this quarterback's a heck of a player.
Coach, based on what Skipper told us, it seems like Cam Lockridge's situation is sort of unknown. How does that change your game planning, and how do you prepare for Saturday?
It really doesn't. We'll have guys that have played a lot during the course of the year step up. Cam's not available, and that position is a very, very difficult position to play. You got to compete. You got to win your one-on-ones, and I think we've got the guys that'll fight their tails off to do that here. So it really won't change our approach or our game plan.
Have you guys talked to him recently? Are you in communication?
We've been in communication, but I'll just leave it at that.
Coach.
Hi.
What does this defense need to do to be successful? What are some takeaways from the Air Force game that you're kind of hoping to implement for Colorado State this weekend?
Air Force is a very unique offense, and so from a structural standpoint, there's not very much that you can take away. You have to try to do things differently for that particular game. But what we, as Coach Skipper talked about, we've got to do a better job of physically owning the line of scrimmage. And this is a very good offensive line that we're facing right now. So we got to be very physical up front, and we got to tackle better. Some of our tackling in the Air Force game allowed them to gain extra yards. Running backs were falling forward, and so a 2 or 3 yard gain became a 5 or 6 yard gain, and that made a big difference in the amount of third downs they were able to convert. So I think we got to do a good job of fitting in the run game, stopping their run game, and hopefully get them into some third down and long situations.
With injuries to this secondary, obviously with Dean and then Cam being out, who can we see some of these guys step up in their absence?
Well, hopefully Dean will be back this week, and he's a big part of our defense. Our young, corners, Julian Neal obviously has played a lot. Jakari Embry here in the latter part of the season has got a lot of snaps, so we expect big things out of him. And then our other safeties that are stepping up now, Jaden Davis and Kosi Agina, they'll all see time in this game. So hopefully, it's one of those deals where you get to this point in the season and you got guys that are coming back off of injury, but guys that have been hobbled a little bit, and maybe they can't practice full go toward till the latter part of the week. So it's kind of the situation most teams are in, and I think we'll be a little bit better from a depth standpoint this week than we were a week ago.
Morning, Coach.
Hi.
I want to ask you about some of the seniors who will be honored on Saturday, starting with Malachi Langley. I mean, you've coached him all 3 of the years you've been here. How has he grown into a leader now? And 6th all-time, I think, on the all-time tackles list?
Well, Malachi is a true warrior. He's a guy that exemplifies Bulldog football, very serious about the game, very methodical in terms of his approach, studies in season, off season, always wants to get better. Always is going to give you his best effort each and every week. I think his style of play has improved this past year. He's always been a good tackler, a physical guy. I think his movement skills have improved, and it shows up in his ability to rush the passer and ability to drop into coverage. So he's a guy that's just been a rock for us. He's been calling the defense and getting everybody lined up since I've been here, and people were trying to take his job along the way, and he just gave him the old stiff arm, and they weren't going to do that. He just kept on fighting to keep his spot, and we're very fortunate to have had him.
And then another warrior, Devo Bridges, literally, wanted to get out of the hospital and play earlier this season. How about that guy when he's meant to the program over your 3 years here?
Devo's a unique player. He has a tenacity about him, a toughness about him. A lot of his career here, Devo has played out of position. In his early career, when I first came here, just out of necessity, Devo was playing a lot inside as a 3 technique at about 250 pounds and winning most of his one-on-ones inside. He was a bowl game MVP for us. He just scraps and fights and exemplifies what you want in a Bulldog. He toughness, extra effort, determination, all those things. Very smart football player too. Listens, and we affectionately call him Greedy is his name because he wants to make plays all the time, and that's not a bad thing. We're very, very happy to have had him.
And then a guy who you haven't coached for as long, but he's making a big impact is CV Nomura.
Yeah.
How has he ingrained himself so quickly into this Bulldog defense and making plays?
CV's done a great job. He's had a heck of a season, very, very productive. His leadership is exemplified when his teammates elected him captain, after being here just 2 years, going on his second season. In the first year, he didn't play a whole lot. He was banged up. So, but CV's one of those leaders that speaks when he feels it's important, doesn't overdo it, but when he speaks, people listen because he backs it up with his effort and in his play. And he's a joy to coach, and we're going to miss him a lot. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Coach. So it's a different offense than the last time you saw with Air Force and Colorado State this week. What's the overall theme for your defense going up against the Rams?
Well, as I mentioned, this team is very balanced. They have gravitated towards running the football very effectively. They're outstanding running backs, 25 and 29, and then they've got some guys behind them that rotate in a little bit. But those two guys, as a duo, are probably the best tandem we faced all year. It's a 1-2 punch. They both have a little different skill set, but very, very productive. And the O-line works well together. They're well coached. Their quarterback, I'm really impressed with the quarterback in the sense that he could throw the ball 40 times, 50 times a game if that was what it was going to take to win. They've geared their offense to him throwing effectively when he does, and he can throw the ball deep. He can throw it intermediate. He throws it on the run with a lot of play-action passes and bootlegs and things of that nature. So they've got a nice balance to their offense, and they try to keep stay ahead of the sticks, stay ahead of the chains. Don't get into a lot of third and long situations. Don't take a lot of chances that way. So we really got to, this has got to be one of the best efforts we've had all year, consistently from start to finish, to slow these guys down.
And I did ask Coach Skipper about this earlier, about his favorite memory of this senior class. What is your favorite memory about this senior class?
I haven't had much time to think about that yet, to be quite honest with you. It's something I think we'll have to wait till the season ends to really be able to pinpoint it. There's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, more highs than lows, and we got to finish it on a high note here coming up this weekend.
Coach, after the Air Force loss, Coach Skipper stressed the inability to stop the dive. Can you share a little bit more about that specifically, and some of the context around the game, missing some guys, how maybe that impacted what you guys were doing?
Well, everything stems from being able to limit their fullbacks' run game, and we weren't able to do it. They kept getting into a lot of third and shorts, fourth and shorts. I think there was 19 third down plays in which they converted 10, and then there was 6 fourth down plays. But Air Force came into the game a little bit different than they had been prior to our game. The week before, they had called 30 passes against Army, and we weren't going to see the ball thrown. I think they made their mind up, and they were going for it on fourth down. Actually, we had opportunities to stop them. We did stop them on one, got real good field position, went on and scored a touchdown. The other one, on the second series of the game, we had them 4th and 5, and they threw the ball incomplete, and we got called for a personal foul that kept the drive going, and then eventually went down and scored on that. But you can't make those kind of mistakes in a game like that. At the end of the half, we had them in long yardage, and it was a 3rd and 10, and the quarterback scrambled out and got a first down on a draw play that we had a blitz running into it, and we just missed it. And so there were plays in the game. I give Air Force Air Force credit. They outplayed us. They outcoached us on defense here. And but we still had opportunities to win that game in spite of that. And it was a play here. We had a 4th and 2 on the goal line, and they went for it. And it was a kind of a replay. Did he get in? Did he not get in? Type of score. So you start adding up points, and you see, you know, a 1-touchdown game. There were points that were scored that, had we executed a little bit better, we would have somehow found a way, but we didn't. And so, you know, it's a different type of scheme. We limited them. You know, I've never been in a game, quite honestly, where a team ran the ball 80 times. Never. And, you know, 50 times is a lot. But 80, it's I didn't realize it till after the game, but geez. But, hey, they kept on getting, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you know, we had our chances, but we didn't stop them. And I wish, in retrospect, there were things we could have done, but we didn't get it done during the game.
Ryan Wilson and Steven Scheit were 2 individuals that played a lot more than usual. Can you share a bit about them and their opportunities?
Yeah, they're 2 young guys that are great parts of our team. Have had big roles in special teams throughout the year. But when Dean was down, we knew, and Ryan's a very, very tough kid, loves the game, plays extremely hard. You see that in his kickoff coverage and things that he does. So we knew this was a style of game that fit his skill set, and he shows that in practice all the time. And finally got an opportunity. The very first snap he was in the game, he made a tackle at the line of scrimmage. I was really proud of the way he competed. Steve is just a tough, hard-nosed, throwback inside linebacker. You know, Steve could have played back in the 70s and 60s and just fit right in with those guys. You know, he's a great kid, smart, tough. He's going to be a coach someday. He'll be a great coach. But so he gets in there, and he's going to get after it. So he's not going to back down from anybody. So that was a game where we felt he could add some. And we had some guys banged up. The linebacker, Seavey, was playing hurt, kind of coming in and out. I think he made 18 tackles in the game, but yet he was dragging his leg a little bit during the game. And so we saw an opportunity to get Steve in there, and Steve did a good job.
And you've shared in the past about kind of the year-long process of prepping for some of these teams. How have you seen Colorado State evolve? Last year they passed the ball so well, and how they've kind of just changed their identity, it seems
just,
like.
You know, really impressed. I'm glad we had the extra time last week as coaches to focus on what they're doing, because that hadn't been their history prior to this year. So we got a jump on that. Our players got a little bit of a jump on it with what we exposed to them last week and then yesterday and an extra practice on Sunday. So I feel good that we're going to keep progressing during the week and have a good plan and have to go out and execute it.
Coach, obviously that Air Force offense didn't really allow much for the pass rush to be effective in that game for them, but obviously those guys are facing a more traditional offense in the sense with Colorado State. Are those guys ready to kind of get back and be more effective on the defensive line and getting it at the quarterback?
You know, this team, it's not like Air Force, but they do hang their hat on running the football. So unless you get them in obvious passing downs, it's a little difficult to start wiring up pressures and exotic rushes to rush the passer. They're going to throw the ball on early downs off of pocket movement with bootlegs and quarterback getting out, break and contain, some deep shot type plays where they're going to max protect. So, you know, your ability to rush the quarterback is going to be predicated on being very good on first and second down. And if we can do that, then we'll have some things I think we'll be able to do, both in the rush and in the pressure. But that's a big chore for us to get them into those situations.
You mentioned Colorado State. They don't really take a whole lot of chances. This group is most successful and it gets takeaways. How do you generate those against a pretty conservative offense?
Well, it's getting 11 people to the football. Hopefully somebody gets a strip, somebody knocks the ball out. The ball, you make a play on the deep shot plays that they're going to challenge you, but they're going to throw it. And if we're in good position in coverage, we'll have opportunities to go make plays on the ball. And then, like I said, if we can get them into longer yardage, then we'll have some opportunities that way as well. But they've been good protecting the football, and it's going to be a challenge.
And then just lastly, just improving physicality. The coach mentioned that. You mentioned that, just being more physical. How does a team improve that in the week of practice?
Well, at this late part of the season, you're not going to go out there and start doing bull in the ring. They don't let you do that anymore in college football anyway, but not that we would. But it's more of a mindset. It's more of our guys. Our guys played hard. You watch the Air Force game, and as much as I'm disappointed in myself and in the way we didn't execute at times, but you watch the end of the game, there's absolutely hard, charging, determined effort right at the very end. Guys are flying to the football. Guys are, there's no letdown. There's no quit. There's none of that. And that's a credit to the players, because you watch film and you watch teams around the country and watch TV, and you see when games are getting away from teams, there's a human nature setting in where the tendency of playing that hard diminishes. But I credit her. I spoke to our guys right after the game on Sunday and commended them on that. So, but we got to come with an edge about us this week. We know what's on the line. There's a lot on the line, but it's about us playing like we're capable of playing against a very good team, and then let the chips fall where they may. Thank you.
What are you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you?
Final home game of the year, obviously. Just looking back at last week's numbers, the run game once again ineffective. -5 in the yard department. What frustrates you most about where the run game's at?
Well, probably the disappointing part, obviously the production, the -5 yards, obviously on paper is horrible. But I think that that game, just the kind of the game flow, we had, I forget the number, we had some sacks that ultimately kind of contributed to the negative part of that. It's not like we ran the ball for negative yards, and then, there was a few times that were called runs that actually ended up the ball got thrown, a few times on RPOs. We had one run called that we threw to Jalen Moss that turned into an explosive play. And, so the big thing I would just say about last week's run game in particular was just kind of the game flow, because, all of a sudden you look up at the clock and there's 6 minutes to go. You can't commit to running the ball. You'd almost rather go incomplete than run the ball for a gain of 1 or 2. You just get to that point where, you're up against the clock. And, I know that, Coach Coyle just mentioned the, 80 rush attempts. I mean, the clock it just became a factor, pretty quickly. So we couldn't really try to establish the run game, and then on top of that, I think that, you just look at, Mikey's efficiency too. We felt like we had an advantage in the pass game. I think that if we could have, possessed the ball for a little bit longer at times, there's some opportunities there. We probably still would have leaned into throwing the ball. Just we felt like that was the matchup last week in particular.
I have to ask, did you feel like that pick there was a missed call there on an early hit on that receiver there on the pick?
Well, I don't want to get fined, so I'm going to be careful as far as what I say, but I do believe there was pass interference on the interception, but the explanation we got was that the guy was competing for the ball, so at the end of the day, that play, that wasn't the play. You know, there's a couple others that I'm looking back on going, this was, to me, swung the game a little bit more. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
What do you feel like were those swing plays in the game?
Well, on our next possession, on our next possession following that one, we had an explosive to Jalen Moss, and then we got into a 3rd and 5 situation, and we got into empty, and we threw the ball down the middle of the field, got exactly the look we wanted. Probably would say that, you know, I think it's a combination of two things. You know, we were a little late with the ball, and it was a receiver error that ultimately I think was the biggest factor. You know, just as far as the tempo that we were running at. Got exactly the look. Mikey saw it, just maybe a hair late on it. And I think that not converting that, because that actually probably realistically should have been a touchdown or down to at least inside the 10. You know, and then we go for it on 4th down, and they stopped us. You know, to me, those two plays, but it was really the 3rd down, because we had exactly what we wanted. And at that time, I believe it was 26-21, I believe was the score at that time. You know, which would have put us in a great position we were either scoring on that play or we were inside the 10, and we were going to score if we got inside the 10. So that was probably the main one.
How do you evaluate that game, seeing as, given the possessions you had, you scored quite a bit of points?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the crazy thing about it is just you play that team again, and, you know, who knows how it goes as far as, you know, I mean, they'd been turning the ball over multiple times, and you know, I watched multiple times, you know, on film where, you know, teams were starting in the plus territory a lot against them just because they turned the ball over, because they were running their option stuff and all that. And, you know, so we were just in a position where we had to score every possession, and we didn't, you know, and we had our opportunities, you know, and again, the interception's unfortunate, you know, which, yes, I do feel like that, you know, ultimately that shouldn't have been ruled an interception, but, you know, at the end of the day it was. And you know, so just we didn't take it fully advantage of all of our possessions. I think we had 8, and we scored touchdowns on 4 of them, and, you know, we had opportunities on other possessions that we didn't capitalize on.
It seemed like going into the season you had 5, maybe 6 receivers kind of at the top of the depth chart, and down to 2 or 3 guys at this stage of the season. How has that impacted the offense?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to hear about excuses or anything. So, you know, at the end of the day, we got to, you know, give guys opportunities to make plays, and they got to make them when they get them. You know, obviously not having Raylan Sharp, you know, last game, I do think affected us a little bit, just because he's been very consistent in that slot position for us. You know, but yeah, you'd love to have everybody, but at the same time, there's other guys. You know, we still got talent out there. You know, Lyndon Ravar's a guy that, you know, has played some. That, you know, I think that if he gets some opportunities, you know, you'll see some flashes from him. And you know, I think that, you know, Chaden James coming back, and, you know, we still got guys in the room, you know, but at the end of the day, yeah, we would love to have Josiah Freeman. You know, Nate Acevedo, losing him was unfortunate. You know, we've played games without Tim Greer. We've played games without Jalen Moss fully, you know. So at the end of the day, guys get opportunities. We got to step up, and is what it is.
A lot of talk about Colorado State's offense. What can you share about the defense?
One, I think they're really well coached. I think their defensive coordinator, Freddie Banks, does a really good job. I've coached against them before. I think he's a very good coach. Gets the guys play really hard. Really good depth on the defensive line. You know, like that's one of the things that, you know, one of the first things, you know, I look at is how deep are they on the D line, because you start talking about, you know, tempo and stuff like that. How is that going to affect them? And they've got a pretty good rotation. You know, I think that their corners are good. Their safeties are really experienced. You know, I think number 11's a really good player. I think that, you know, 17 and 15 have played a ton of football for them. And then same with the linebackers. You know, they were different numbers last year. So when we kind of studied them in the summer, and then, you know, you're looking at them going, okay, that's just that guy. You know, I mean, they've got a lot of guys that have played a ton of football. And you talk about depth. I mean, you know, I think they've had maybe 1 or 2 guys. It's the same 10, 11, it's same 11 to 15 guys on film every week for them. I don't know how they've avoided it, you know, the way that not everybody has. You know, they've got depth, but they also have the same guys playing for them. So their guys play really fast, and they're consistent. And you know, I think that they're a great example though of they play really good complementary football. You know, they're on offense, they kind of lend into their defense, and their defense plays good defense, and so I think that they're a great example of a team that I saw Coach Norvell quoted the other day saying they're not trying to get into 50 to 45 games. Like they're going to play complementary football, and they do a great job of that.
Hey, good morning, Coach. So the last 2 games for the Bulldogs offense have not been the best. What is that message about playing a full game on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, the Hawaii game was obviously very disappointing. Last game, I think that, we played 38 plays. We averaged 7.5 yards a play, and our guys were excited to play. I think the one thing is, I think it's disrespectful to the guys in our room. I know Coach Skip and Coach Coyle have mentioned, I think it's disrespectful to our players to act like there's nothing to play for and that they're not excited to play. I think our offense, last week, I think they were ready to play. They were excited to play. I think that they believed we were going to score. Every time we touched the ball, we didn't every time. But, you look at it, we gave ourselves a chance to onside kick at the end, and a lot of our guys were here 2 years ago when we scored, however many points in 13 seconds or whatever against San Diego State. Like, our guys aren't going to quit, and I think that was really reflected. Like, I was super proud of the way that they finished the game. We gave ourselves a chance to onside kick at the end and give ourselves a chance. And I just think that ultimately that's the message. We have an awesome opportunity. We're looking at this as an opportunity this week. Like, we got everything to gain. And it's unfortunate if other people don't want to look at it like that because we're choosing to. And that's the message, and our guys, just the energy that they practiced with last night, I think that was a reflection of that.
And also, I asked Coach Coyle and I also asked Coach Skipper, what is your favorite memory about this senior class?
Well, a lot of them, we had a few transfers in, but for the most part, a lot of these seniors are the same guys that were part of that 1-4 to 10-4 team, and that team, we had our struggles, and, we had our moments that year where we were not good on offense and we'd light somebody up the next week. We had our moments where we weren't great on defense. The offense picked the other side of the ball up. And so, I just think that, you look at that last drive last week, just the no quit, never down, never defeated kind of attitude. We got a bunch of guys like that. Mose Vavo, he's played through, some serious stuff this year as far as injuries, stuff like that. Magdalena, his work ethic, his attitude, I just think that, and you just keep going down the list of guys like that. Osmar Velez, like, if you would have told me Osmar Velez was going to be like the most important lineman we've got, just because, he can play center. He's played center this year for us. He played guard. If you would have told me that when I first got here, I wouldn't have believed you, So I just think that there's a bunch of, like, real gritty, tough people that are going to go on and be really good, really successful at whatever they do, just because I just think that that's how they're defined. That's the best way for me to put it.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
I'm actually going to ask you to go more in depth with some of those guys you mentioned, like a Magdalena, who I think has 3 of the 4 longest plays that this team's had this season. How much is this team going to miss Magdalena's big playability going forward?
A lot. I think that, I've said it, really since the first week, he's probably the fastest player on the field every game that he steps on the field, and so, just finding ways, to capitalize on that. And some teams have made it easier than others to capitalize on that. Some teams are going to make you beat them and chip away at it, but I think that, Mac, when he's had opportunities, has made some really big plays. And, there's also been some missed opportunities. We've tried to, capitalize on some of those other ones. But I just think at the end of the day, he's his speed and his determination too. He's like very, committed to this, and it's important to him. So, we're gonna miss that definitely for sure.
I didn't realize that Vaval was playing through an injury, which makes it even more impressive that 51 of the last 52 games he started for Fresno State. Just talk about what he's also going to bring on Saturday and what they're going to miss from him moving forward.
Yeah. Mose's, there's a reason why he's a 2-time captain. I just think that just from a respect level and how important football is to him, how important that brotherhood of the O-line is to him. I think that he's a guy that, like, every time the NFL scouts come by, I say, you guys got to make the evaluation on him because I can't say enough good things about him. So if he's good enough to play for you guys got to make that decision. But as far as all the other boxes being checked, I just think the world of Mosa, and I think that everybody around him would probably share that sentiment.
Does this team get fired up about the chance to play spoiler and beat a team that's a win away from the Mountain West Championship game?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's about us, and and I think that we're really just approaching this like we got everything to gain. It would be great to play spoiler, but more importantly, we've got stuff to play for ourselves. And we've got a good team, and we've got a good offense. We got to validate who we are and what we've got. Because I think that's the main motivation.
How's it going, Coach? With the banged-up offensive line and with the rushing game still struggling, will we see an expanded playbook or change in game plan in order to solve those issues and put the offense in positions to score?
Yeah, I think that ultimately it just comes back to we've as coaches we got to put guys in position to be successful, and I don't even know. It's like 7 different starting O-line combinations. I think we might lead the country in that. It's pretty. It's been pretty crazy. But at the end of the day, they're battling. And so as the run game struggled, but it's not all their fault. And so we just got to continue to find ways to put them in position to be successful. And some of our ways haven't necessarily been successful on it, and so we've got to find ways to do that. We got to be creative, within that. And, I think a big part of it is just using our personnel, to our advantage.
And even though bowl eligibility is the focus, there really isn't anything big to lose or at stake. So with that in mind, will we see other players, backup players take snaps and get some more reps?
Yeah, I guess I would argue that there's a lot that we're playing for with bowl eligibility. I would just say that we are going to do our best to play the guys that are going to give us the best chance today. And ultimately, I just think it comes back to we are coaching this game to win. We're going to play this game to win. The guys that take the field are going to play this game to win, regardless of whether it's a guy that plays normally 80 snaps a game or whether he plays no snaps a game. Just we're gonna do everything we can to put the right guys out there, and when those guys get opportunities, they got to make the most of them.
And currently, the Rams are ranked number 92 in total defense. Is there anything that you notice from them that you could take advantage of to put some big points on them?
Well, and I know Coach Quayle mentioned it too. Like the stats are kind of misleading just because, whether it's a certain team or whatever that had a big game against them, whatever. But the thing that they do a really good job of is that they limit explosive plays. Like you don't just see like guys running wide open down the field, and so we've got to find ways to generate explosive plays, knowing that that's what they do a good job of limiting that, and. How we do that, how we get that done, we'll see just kind of as the week goes. But that's probably our biggest challenge is trying to find some ways to generate, explosive plays because that's ultimately what we've been missing, in particular in the run game, And so trying to find guys or find ways to get guys into some space and create some stuff is the big point of emphasis.